One of the main conditions for aid to Israel from the United States in its defensive war against Hamas has been a plan for the day after. The day after the bombs stop falling, the day after Israel wins the war. Bibi's answer so far? We will crush and destroy Hamas. A good answer, but there has to be more. Today we dig into what we know so far, what Israel's Gaza plan is for the day after. I'm Ben Hilton, and this is the Israel Guys. Bibi's answer about crushing Hamas was, of course, not appetizing to the State Department of the United States, and those low IQ individuals want to avoid at all costs the appearance of assisting Israel to reoccupy the Gaza Strip after the war. This fear has played a big factor in the U.S. administration's tensions with Bibi over this war and the seemingly two-faced stance on helping Israel win. According to the U.S. State Department, Israel needs to win, but they cannot crush Hamas. This would, according to those same individuals, open the door for Israel to reoccupy Gaza. So what's the big deal? Why is the U.S. administration, and for that matter, most of the world, opposed to Israel reoccupying Gaza? The answer can be understood with one simple phrase: two states for two peoples. Ever since the reestablishment of Israel in 1948, the powers of hell have been working against this prophetic realization of God's spoken word to his chosen people. As Jeremiah 30, verse 3 says, "The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will bring my people Israel and Judah back from captivity and restore them to the land I gave their ancestors to possess, says the Lord." The original partition plan, as laid out by the British in the early 20th century, gave Israel full control over Gaza. You can see from this map that the original plan size of Israel, according to the British mandate, has been significantly reduced in size. In 1948, prior to the reestablishment of the modern-day Israel, UN Resolution 181 further reduced the size of the already tiny Jewish homeland, giving away Judea and Samaria, or the West Bank, and also Gaza. After Israel's miraculous war of independence in 1948, in which the term the Green Line, which we've all become so familiar with, was established, Israel had shrunk to just a fraction of what had been promised to them by Great Britain originally. In 1967, after Israel's preemptive strike against Egypt, which then spiraled into war with Arab neighboring countries, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Israel regained control of Gaza, Judea and Samaria, or the West Bank, and the Golan Heights, and also the Sinai Peninsula. In 1982, the Sinai was returned to Egypt. However, the areas of Judea and Samaria, the Golan, and Gaza remained under Israeli control. It was from this time period from 1967 until 2005 when Israel is accused of the first occupation of Gaza. During that time, Israel established 21 settlements inside of Gaza, which reached a peak population of approximately 9,000 Israelis. Eventually, due to international pressure to create a two-state solution, Israel's Prime Minister Ariel Sharon decided to withdraw from Gaza to create a Palestinian state, like the world wanted. Even though Palestinians now had their own state and the tools given to them by the international community to elect a democratic government, they promptly held elections and voted in Hamas. From there, Hamas took over Gaza and ruled it with an iron fist. Dissenting Palestinians are tortured and killed regularly inside of Gaza. Hamas built an army, miles of sophisticated underground bunkers, and tens of thousands of rockets, all with the intent to destroy the state of Israel. Within the span of several years, it was clear the two-state solution, or experiment as it should have been called, was an utter failure. But many of the low IQ individuals that run our government still think otherwise. They continue to push the idea of another two-state solution, one that would be even bolder and much more dangerous than Gaza in Judea and Samaria, but we'll leave that for another day. So, to return to where we are today, the day after the last terrorist surrenders inside of Gaza, what options does Israel have? We'll get into that in just a second, but first, Every week, our team at the Israel Guides have the privilege of traveling throughout Israel to biblical places like Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria, in the Galilee. To see and touch this land is a very special thing, something we don't take for granted. Our friends behind the movie I Am Israel know that so many of you are dreaming of touching the land of the Bible, and they've created a way for you to do that every day. Designed especially for women of faith, jewelry by I Am Israel will give you a stylish and elegant way to wear a piece of the promised land wherever you go. Faith Like a Mustard Seed necklace and earrings contain soil from the mountains of Jerusalem and a mustard seed from the fields of Bethlehem. Flowers of the Field necklaces contain a unique selection of flowers that were grown and cut right in the land of Israel. Every piece is skillfully handcrafted and inspired by the words of the Bible. So, if you're a woman who values both style and the land where Jesus walked, or a guy like us who doesn't know much about jewelry but knows that the women in your life would absolutely love these, visit the jewelry section at IamIsraelFilm.com or click the link in the description below to get yours today. So let's look at some of the options that could be on the table. First, after Israel wipes out Hamas, they could recover the hostages and walk away from Gaza. This would likely create a power vacuum that could result in something similar or worse to what we had with Hamas rising to power. This new power would reestablish the illegal smuggling routes between Gaza and Egypt, giving Iran free access to smuggle in arms and munitions and whatever they want into Gaza. Besides Hamas, Wikipedia currently lists 41 known militant groups that operate inside of Gaza. In another option, Israel could hand control of Gaza over to the Palestinian Authority, the government that currently controls Judea and Samaria, or what people call the West Bank. Even though this is a terrible idea, as we'll get into in a second, the U.S. has repeatedly called for this. Israel knows the PA is not a trustworthy peace partner, and if given the opportunity, they would be just as evil as Hamas. They regularly, like Hamas, torture and murder their own people in Judea and Samaria and encourage acts of terrorism against Jews with what is known as the Palestinian Martyrs Fund, or the Pay-to-Slay program. Also considering that the PA has agreed to pay nearly $3 million to terrorists who actively fought against Israel on October 7th, it seems highly unlikely that Israel would actually agree to this arrangement. Another option could be Israel wipes out Hamas and then hands control of Gaza over to the UN or some other internationally run government. But please, with UNIFIL and UNRWA's track record, we know that this would be a disaster. The UN is a garbage organization run by largely garbage people. There are some good people in the UN, but a lot of garbage people. And it would take this current situation and make it exponentially worse. They have the track record to prove that. Given that both the UN and the EU do not approve of the idea of an internationally run government, but instead favor the two-state solution, it seems highly unlikely that any form of international government would be established in Gaza. Another option could be Israel wipes out Hamas and then forms some sort of joint government involving Israel, the U.S., and Arab states. This could be a possibility, although Egypt, which would be one of the key players here, has already said that they're not interested in getting involved. There are indications that Saudi Arabia, Jordan, the UAE wouldn't be interested either in participating. So tentatively, this option may be off the table, although it could still be possible in some form. What I think the most likely situation could be is that Israel returns to the pre-2005 situation and maintains military control over Gaza in kind of a de facto kind of form, just not officially. There are a variety of ways Israel could do this. They could create a cooperation between local clans to form a loose confederation, kind of a government, and then maintain security control with the IDF, with special forces operations, maybe maintain some sort of troop presence inside of Gaza. This would make sure that nothing like Hamas is ever allowed to come to power again, letting the Palestinians rule themselves in some sort of a loose confederation with current local tribes, current local clans, but Israel still maintaining security control. Yoav Gallant was one of the most outspoken politicians in denouncing this idea, but he was just ousted from Bibi's administration. So who knows what the possibilities are at this point. Or, in my opinion, what could be the best solution for Israel, Israel could annex Judea and Samaria along with Gaza. They could oust the Palestinian Authority and then give residency to Arabs living in Judea and Samaria and Gaza, Arabs that want to live in the state of Israel, allowing them to vote in local elections, but not nationally, similar to how the U.S. handles our territories with Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Guam, and so on. This could bring an end to the cycle of violence, creating an actual future for Arabs living in Judea and Samaria, in the West Bank, and also in Gaza as well. This is evidenced by the Arabs who became Israeli citizens after 1948. Israel, to them, means prosperity and peace. And for Arabs who are willing to embrace Israel as a sovereign state, it would mean prosperity and peace to them as well. The faster people around the world can grasp this concept, the better things will be. Please continue to pray for wisdom for Israel's leaders, that they wouldn't cede to the demonic forces at play that are trying to divide the land of Israel. Remember, while Israel has called the war swords of iron, Hamas calls it the Al-Aqsa flood, making it clear to all who can see what the battle is really about. God's footstool, Jerusalem, and the city of our King. Guys, don't forget to check out the I Am Israel jewelry. The link is in the description below. Make sure and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments section. As always, stop listening to the lies and propaganda and connect with the truth of what is happening in Israel. We'll be back here soon, here at the Israel Guys.